a better value proposition than what you had in the past. And Arash, you and I were not really, I don't know if we were to go to this Johnner Brothers show together. I don't know that the mullet free haircut situation applies to either of us. I mean, it's just.
No, I don't think it does, Maz. I don't think it does at all.
In spirit, yes, but in practicality, no. Here we are. It's week 1 of the CFL season. And the Riders injury list, if you're watching the stream, I'm going like this. The list is, Arash, we've only played 60 minutes of football. How can we already have multiple people on the 6-game injured list? Again, 5 years in a row.
Right, but the Riders aren't alone. Like, I was looking up the injury report came out in Ottawa, for instance, for their opponent last week, and the Red Blacks are a mash unit, especially on their offensive line, et cetera, et cetera. Maz, like, I think what we're really seeing this be a byproduct of is that there just aren't enough quality offensive linemen in tackle football. And it's not just the pros. Hear me out on this one. I was talking to a Division I football coach last week in NCAA. And the top offensive lineman at the University of Nevada last year, University of Nevada, goes into the transfer portal, and the University of Oregon, through their NIL program, the name, image, likeness, you can pay the players now, gave him $1 million to sign with the Ducks. And Maz, he's the 6th offensive lineman. He's not even a starter. So there is such a lack of supply, and there is such a demand to protect the quarterback, to run the football, to be the engine of your offense, and there just aren't enough dudes. So you're probably bringing back players who are banged up, who are vets, who might be a little long in the tooth, et cetera, on top of the regular wear and tear. And this is why you end up kind of where you end up. Toronto struggled up front week 1. Ottawa's banged up. Saskatchewan's banged up. We, go across the league and find it out. I really think, on top of everything else, this is a real offensive line supply problem. That's a real issue across football.
When the CFL cuts were made and Kadeem Carey ended up on the list, I had said on the show last Monday, the Riders should just sign him. Put him on the practice, just do something. Then the game was played. Ouellette goes down. I text Barney to be like, I hope that they're going to pick up Kadeem Carey because if AJ Ouellette is out for any amount of time, we need a good quality running back that knows the game, knows the offense. And you've got a 2-time rushing leader, a Grey Cup champion. You've got all this. Somebody was going to pick him. I really like that move. Are you as double thumbs up for J.O. as I was when the word finally came down that, Kadeem Carey's a rider?
I didn't get the Carey decision by Toronto. I didn't get the Fletcher decision by Montreal. I know everybody's looking to go younger and faster and cheaper. I thought in a copycat business, when you saw what Derrick Henry and Saquon did south of the border, that there was going to be a payoff. I mean, you think about what Kadeem Carey did last year. Without him, look, I get Arbuckle was the MVP, but without him, I'm not sure the Argos win the Grey Cup last year. 79 yards on the ground in that win over Winnipeg. Scored the touchdown that basically iced the game. The Bombers continue to go with a 3-man front. It was Carey that ran through that defense. I spoke with a team executive today in the CFL, and they were surprised too by the move. And they said, of course, it was going to be Saskatchewan bringing him in. Corey Mace worked with Carey, I believe, in Calgary, knows what he's about. Worked with him in Toronto probably too. It's a quality vet who understands the league. It's a no-lose proposition. It's a smart move by the Riders, and it gives you more depth at a position that you're going to need, not only throughout the season, but especially when the weather turns bad late in the season.
That Rider game on Thursday, I thought Ottawa played well in the first and fourth quarter up until Drew Brown got hit. I think it was Jameer Thurman. And then after that, he was laboring. And when they had kind of made it close, he wasn't able to follow through on throw. You could tell it was really affecting him. Like he was bending over. You could tell he was in pain on the sidelines. And whatever that is, I don't think goes away quickly. And what's his status for this week? Like, that's probably going to be lingering for a while.
Yeah, unknown right now. Did not practice yesterday. Today was the first day of practice. They called it limited. He didn't do much. Um, my understanding of it is that it's a hip issue. Now, whether it's a hip pointer or something like that, that's kind of the indication I've been given. Um, they're going to try and see tomorrow and the next day if Brown can practice, and then what he's able to do from a mobility range of motion deal, and really, Maz, make sure he doesn't make it worse. It's not one of those things where he has to, he's new to the system and needs reps. He just came out of training camp. It's just what's his comfort level, what's his pain level, and what's the okay, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater week 2 and, end the season if it just mean him for a week type thing. So, um, it I think this game opened with the Red Blacks favored and around to pick 'em. Like, I don't get it. I think Montreal's the
Ooh.
far superior team, regardless of who's the quarterback. But Matt Schultz is next man up if Drew Brown can't go.
Danny Machocha and Jason Moss said Davis Alexander is our guy. So far, after 1 week, Machocha and Moss are looking like geniuses. He looked good, and conversely, Toronto helped him look good because I think for whatever reason, when Arbuckle has time to think about playing and being named the starter, it never goes well. When he gets thrown into games with no notice, he does well. But Davis Alexander was as advertised. Alouettes look good.
And they didn't ask Alexander to do too much, Maz. Like, they don't make mistakes. They don't make bonehead decisions. It's not trying to play hero ball. Take what's given to you, execute the offense. This whole notion about being a quote unquote game manager and that being a negative thing, look, it's worked for Brock Purdy and it's working for Davis Alexander. And I get that Arbuckle's going to take some of the brunt of this, but to me, that was just a gong show of offensive line play. Like, I can't imagine what Toronto's offense would have been if not for Coxie just being able to climb the ladder and make some plays. You know, um, the the first touchdown of the game that Montreal scored on defense, it was officially a fumble return for a touchdown. That's really not the spirit of it. But I still think Toronto will be okay. I think it's going to be it's going to be a grind. They lost a lot on defense, but it's a long season. But until they get that offensive line stuff cleaned up, they're not going to stand a chance here.
It's funny you said they'll be okay. Toronto just always ends up winning the Grey Cup. Doesn't matter what the
Yeah.
record is, what their roster is, they just always end up winning the Grey Cup.
Well, I
The
mean, look at
Rodney
last year.
I
Look
know,
at
I
last
know.
year, right? So you miss Chad Kelly suspended for the first half of the season. It takes him a couple of games to knock the rust off, and then they're fine. And I like the way I've been made to understand it, Matt. I don't think Chad Kelly's coming back until late this month, maybe early next month. I think it's going to be another like 3 games that he's going to miss. So this is just the way they're going to go into it. But it's almost like the old Sparky Anderson line in baseball when Sparky would say, "Get to the end of May, be 500 and be healthy, and then the season starts with 100 games to go." In the CFL, it's be healthy, be around 500, stay in the fight, Labor Day, and the season gets going.
Uh, I know we're going to get into the NBA here real quick. I want to ask you because everybody, the Rodney Dangerfield Award in the CFL is going to the Calgary Stampeders. Nobody showing them any respect in the preseason polls, even in week 1 last week. And Hamilton didn't play their best game. But if Charleston Hughes picked Calgary to end up 5th in the West, if that does come true, they are going to be the hardest to play against 5th place team in the West in the CFL in a long time because I think that they may be okay. They're not as maybe as bad as people are saying.
If the Stamps end up 5-13, I won't be surprised.
Okay, could they
I,
end
I,
up three?
I
Could they end up 13-5 though?
no, no,
Okay,
no, not good enough. Personnel isn't good enough. It has nothing to do with their quarterback play, nothing to do with Vernon Adams. I get they went out and changed their receiving core. They went out and changed their quarterback room. But overall, from a personnel, I was a little surprised from Hamilton. But again, it's only a week. It's only a game. They're coming out of training camp. I'm interested to see this week, though. I think Toronto got something up their sleeve for them. I think the real Stampeders, you'll see a little bit more of that this week.
Yeah, and then real quick, Buck Pierce and Nathan Rourke showed up with a complete package game, and it looks like Trey Ford was still playing video game football, rolling out of the pocket, playing Sandlot on every opportunity could. I don't see that as a recipe for long-term success for the Elks. You got to stand in there every once in a while and throw the ball, don't you?
Yeah, and that's part of it. It just seemed like the Elks looked like a team that were coming out of a training camp with a first-year coach without much of an off-season program outside of that. They had special teams miscues. Yeah, Ford could have gotten one back. Like even pre-snap penalties that Ford in the post-game media availability said, "Hey, that was on me. I screwed up the cadence." I actually don't think there's often a lot of value in having a week 2 bye week, but for a new coaching staff coming in and new systems being implemented, I think this actually helps Edmonton right now just to try and get it together as they navigate a real long season.
NBA Finals continue tomorrow night. Indiana and Oklahoma tied at 1. Of course, there was this stunning comeback in game 1 with 0.3 seconds left. Because
Yeah.
rightfully so, I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder should, by all accounts, if it all plays out the way it should, win this series. But Indiana's scrappy. Like, do you think it's the walk in the park that everybody thinks it's going to be for OKC?
Yeah, scrappy's a great way of putting it. They also just don't go away. They also have firepower. And it's not just Halliburton, it's not just Siakam. You think about what Andrew Nembhard has meant to the Indiana backcourt. He had Shea on roller skates in game 1. Absolutely cooked him in that 15-point fourth quarter comeback. If you're watching on the stream, crosses over 3 times, step back 3 to put Indiana within striking distance and ultimately win it. I still feel, Maz, that Oklahoma City is the far superior team. They have the best player in the world, the best player in the series, the best player on the floor. They have the best defender of the series in Lou Dort. They have more depth. And outside of Siakam, nobody in the series really has championship experience. So that's not even a determining factor either. But what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander can do is absolutely change the dynamic of a game, a series, a team, a city, the fortunes of a franchise, and you're seeing that throughout these playoffs. Again, just how magnificent this Canadian kid is, man.
We're far removed from the Toronto Raptors just because of distance or whatever. So, like a lot of,
Sure.
and this has changed for me with the NHL, I cheer for players, not necessarily teams. So anytime there's any reference to any Canadian doing anything good in the NBA, I'm like, yes. And sometimes it's the first I've ever heard of him, and I'm like, yes, that's our guy. That is our guy. And it's funny, Arash, year after year after year, it grows and grows and grows that the Canadians are infiltrating the NBA.
It's amazing, Maz. Like 2023, I covered the NBA Finals, the Denver-Miami series, and there's Jamal Murray, who's basically Robin to Nikola Jokic, who's Batman, the NBA MVP. And now here we are a couple of years later, and Shea is the head of the snake. He's the best player in the world. He's the league MVP. Guy from Burlington, Ontario. On the outside of his high school, they have a big mural painted. He's all of it. Now, the question becomes, when does this translate at the Olympics? Because it was a disaster in Paris last summer. But now the fact that all these guys are going to have 4 more years under their belt, the fact that they're playing in series like these, like conference finals, NBA finals, Dort talked about that at his media availability the other day, that this is going to be great for the national team because Nembhard's doing this, and Benedict Mathurin for Indiana is doing this. Obviously, Shea and Lou. I was at the game that Canada lost, Maz, against France, and I walked to the building about 90 minutes before tip off at the Olympics. I'm like, uh-oh, because the place was shaking. Allez, les bleus. Like it was home court advantage. I'm thinking to myself, all right, these guys have played on big stages before, but this isn't a best of 5. It's not a best of 7. It's a one game elimination. And I just think that having gone through that in Paris, playing on stages like these at the NBA Finals and multiple players being there, I think that's just going to bode so well for the LA Olympics. And then it's game on. And especially when it's in the US, you know it's going to mean a lot more to those national team players.
Finally, real quick, when it comes to baseball, no one can really figure out who the Toronto Blue Jays are yet. It's still early. Hey, we're still hope second, third place. We're flirting with that. We could use a Jose Bautista, but he's no longer at our services. But he's Hall of Fame-ish material that he's in. He's officially in now.
He's officially in. A couple of years ago, he went up in the level of excellence at the ballpark in Toronto, and over the weekend, inducted into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame. It was an emotional Bautista when that happened, reflecting on his time in Toronto. Maz, I tell you, man, you go to the ballpark today, and Bautista hasn't been a Blue Jay for almost a decade. Other than Vladimir Guerrero Jr., there's more 19 Bautista jerseys than any other player. And if you say bat flip to anybody in this country, they know exactly what you're talking about. The ALDS, the Texas Series, the Defiance, how big and magnificent that was. Bautista is not just well, first of all, he is a Canadian Baseball Hall of Famer, but he was also the face of a franchise for an era that had gone 26 years without reaching the postseason, and Bautista was kind of the poster boy for them finally getting over the hump in 15 and 16. And so he gets his rightful place in St. Mary's, Ontario, and the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame.
That's a good trivia question that may could win you a drink in a bar if it ever comes up. Where's the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame? All right.